So a story just came out today that I found very interesting. Remedy has revealed the sales figures for Alan Wake 2 and has revealed that Alan Wake 2 is their fastest selling game. That's above games, such as Max Payne, Control, Quantum Break, and obviously the first Alan Wake. Now, despite the fact that Alan Wake 2 is Remedy's fastest selling game, the game has not recouped development costs. The game has sold 1.3 million copies to date, but it hasn't recouped its development costs, which are estimated to be around $75 million. But it's on track to break even sometime this year. And this is a success story on a number of different levels. For one, Alan Wake 2 is a game that was only made thanks to the partnership that Remedy made with Epic Games. This is why on PC the game was only released on the Epic Games Store and not Steam. Without Epic Games, they wouldn't have been able to acquire the budget to make the game in the first place. Another thing, and even more importantly, is that Alan Wake 2 was released digitally, only digitally. There was no accompanying physical release for the game, and there still has not been a physical release for Alan Wake 2. The only way you can play the game is on two different platforms, one of those being PlayStation 5, and the other one being PC, and so the game is only available through very limited means, and it was still able to sell the numbers that I'm seeing in this article. Now, before the game came out, Remedy explained their decision to release the game as a digital exclusive. And their reasoning was they wanted to deliver a AAA experience at a reduced price. The game was $60 on consoles as a result because it was only released digitally. If they had a physical release, it would have been $70. On PC, it was only $50. Now, whether anyone actually believes that this was actually the case for why the game was priced at those numbers, I guess at this point it's somewhat irrelevant. What this does is that it proves, this game in particular, proves that video games do have a future in a digital-only market. And we're continually seeing video games being released only on digital markets without any sort of physical release. The next game that's doing the same thing that Alan Wake 2 has done in that regard is Hellblade 2, which comes out in May. That game does not have a physical release. It will not have a physical release. It's only being released digitally. Statistically speaking, video games sell more digitally now than they do their physical counterparts, and it's been that way for a long time. There's been, within the last few months, there's been recent reports of major retailers like Walmart just outright scrapping physical copies of games, in the store, and literally taking them off the shelf and disposing of them. And there's been reports of other retail, giants like Best Buy, who's just going to outright stop selling, physical media in general, not just video games, but movies as well. And so we're moving into a digital and all digital only future that concerns a lot of people, and naturally so. But as someone who's been gaming on PC the last few years, I believe this is my 4th year, after a while you really just get used to it. And you come to realize that digital media is just more convenience. There's been some arguments, brought up about ownership, license ownership and all that. The fact of the matter is, when it comes to video games, if you buy a physical game, you're buying something that's incomplete. You're buying something that requires patch updates through the internet. And it's really not any different than, purchasing a digital copy. Either way, the game is going to need updates in order to be playable in a lot of cases. And physical media definitely falls short when it comes to things like DLC. If there's like a DLC expansion for a game, It's obviously something that's going to be released digitally, so if you only purchase video games physically, you're going to have to hope that the publisher releases like a complete edition. And when it comes to that sort of thing, even if they do release a complete edition, then you find yourself in the cycle of, having to re-buy a game that you already own versus just buying it digitally, paying for, the main game once and any DLC expansions that you want, that'll just pair with the digital copy that you already have. There's a lot of ins and outs to this conversation that I'm not going to go into because I've already uploaded a video on the argument of digital versus physical media. That's up on the channel now. But the point of this video is to point out that, video games do have a future in a digital only landscape. Whether or not people actually want a digital only landscape, well, you have to let the sales numbers speak for themselves on that one.